Welcome to Law and Omen.
Yes.
Jeez, it scares me how much this is peaking. Like, I can't laugh.
Well, I don't know, maybe talk through a pillow or something.
Just suffocate myself with a pillow. Today on True Crime.
No, that's not what I just mean put a pillow in front of, between you and the mic, not into your face. Yeah, before I forget, because I have done the research, so I might as well add it in here. I did research on chicken social dynamics. And also the killing the rock.
What?
The demon that was released from the rock.
Oh, right. I was like, the rock's dead?
I should stop saying it like that, because Patrick also, what I was saying earlier, like I did research on the demon releasing from the rock, or the rock releasing demon, or something like that. He also looked at me and he also thought I was talking about the rock, like the actual rock. Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Dwayne Demon Johnson.
So, chickens.
Your favorite birds.
I'm getting used to them, I must say. The other day, so our landlords / neighbors have a duck that lives in their house as well. It's like a very tame duck.
Aww.
And the other morning I went outside and all of a sudden I just saw something fly pretty low, like very low, like fly and land like right in front of our front gate. And it was a duck. And then it walked like straight to me and just looked at me. But it was calm. It was calm. And I opened our front gate for it and it came in. And then all the chickens all of a sudden came in and I was like, what am I? The avian lady?
That's amazing.
It was very strange. It was a very weird experience.
You know what?
It was cool nonetheless.
Now that I'm thinking of it, maybe the universe put you in this house, this place that you thought was going to be so great for you, to get over your bird problem.
My bird problem, yes, maybe.
Because now you've got a house full of them.
Okay, so I have included all of the links and sources into the show notes. So, leading animal behavior scientists from around the globe know that chickens are inquisitive and interesting animals whose cognitive abilities are on par with those of cats, dogs, and even some primates.
Oh, great. Way to make us feel bad about KFC, guys.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I'm having Nando's tonight.
No, you're not.
Oh, I'm going to change it to a veg option. It's fine. They can complete complex mental tasks, learn from watching each other, demonstrate self-control, and worry about the future.
Really? Like, when are they going to become KFC?
I don't know.
I'm never eating it again.
Oh, no, this is quite sad. Oh, my word.
Why did you do this to us? Oh.
I have an agenda to make us all vegan or something. Or vegetarian.
Okay, but first give us money. Just because I have a job doesn't mean I have money for veganism now.
True. Chickens comprehend cause and effect relationships and understand that objects still exist even after they're hidden from view.
Oh, babies.
I know. Complex hierarchies, also known as pecking orders. There's also complex social hierarchies, also known as pecking orders, and every chicken knows his or her place on the social ladder. Remembering the faces and ranks of more than 100 other birds.
I'm just picturing a chicken dressed as a debutante, like in a poofy dress, like at her coming out party.
This makes a chicken run seem much more plausible now. Scientists agree that their complex social structures and good memories are undeniable signs of advanced intelligence comparable to that of mammals. Roosters protect and watch over their flock. If a predator gets too close, the rooster won't back down and will fight to the death to protect his hens. If you have chicks in the flock, the rooster will work twice as hard to make sure all his charges are safe. So the other thing we spoke about is the Japanese rock that broke open.
Mm-hmm.
So, on the 7th of March 2022, the Killing Stone, Seshoseiki, I think is the right thing, containing the transformed corpse of Tamamo no Mae, one of the most famous kitsune in Japanese mythology. In the Japanese language, kitsune can mean both a regular Japanese fox, a divine fox, or a demon fox. The history of the Japanese kitsune goes back to the beginning of Japan itself. Actually, there's like 13 different types of kitsune. Each have their own element, including heaven, dark, wind, spirit, fire, earth, river, ocean, mountain, forest, thunder, time, and sound. What?
Because this one guy that plays games on YouTube that I watch, he's like, isn't it always weird how it's always the elements? It's like fire, earth, depression, sadness. It's like, because you're just naming off like all these things. It made me think of that.
I love it. So they are shapeshifters, and the older kitsune gets, the more their abilities increase. Kitsune B, or foxfire, is a red flame produced by kitsune by either breathing or wagging its tail, and it uses the light to lure humans. Many tales of Japanese kitsune include them turning into beautiful women to trap powerful men.
Okay.
Kitsune can have as many as 9 tails, and when a kitsune gains its 9th tail, its fur becomes white or gold. So, Tamamo no Me, meaning Lady Duckweed.
Sorry. That's you now. You're Lady Duckweed.
Oh, thank you. She's very powerful. Is a 9-tailed magical fox. She's also one of the most powerful yokai that has ever lived, one of the 3 terrible yokai of Japan. So yokai are cruel Japanese foxes that target the bad traits of humans, such as pride, greed, and vanity. For their own entertainment, these kitsune can bring down even the most devout priest.
Nice.
They rarely attack women, but prefer to possess them instead, then using their foxfire kitsune ability to lure unsuspecting men to their doom. Who she actually was, Tamamo no Me, was a beautiful woman who had been part of a secret plot hatched by a feudal warlord to kill Emperor Toba, who reigned from 1107
Jeez.
to 1123.
Isn't that when
Again,
Jesus
how are
was
those
alive?
real times? I don't know when Jesus was alive. I don't understand BC and stuff like that.
Well, I guess
Like,
AD.
what is
That's a very good question.
BC would still translate to actual, like, numbered years, right?
I love that we do this every time.
but it's because I'm very ignorant and I don't really understand time.
Oh, okay. In the modern calendar, we label all years with BC or AD, okay? There is no 0 year in the system. The year Christ was born is 1 AD, and the year preceding it is 1 BC. So, let me see.
So
This
what's
is
1107?
okay, well, the year 2020 BC is apparently 4,718, which doesn't understand me at all.
What?
I don't know.
understand.
I don't know either.
But we're in
years
2021. That's the future.
I know. Why would this tell me? Okay, they're common era.
I'm
Okay.
panicking.
Yes.
Someone
okay.
is screaming at their their
Ooh,
radio.
I like this. There's a time in history called the vulgar era.
Did everyone just swear fuck done?
Says you. I don't know what any. That's what you can search for us. What the hell was the vulgar era?
Yeah.
Actually, you can search these dates for us for next week since your job
Say, like,
is not to educate us
why
on
do I ask
chickens
questions?
and world history.
But you can't walk away from here saying that you didn't learn anything.
Yeah, they learned not to listen to us.
So Tamamo no Me was a beautiful woman who had been a part of a secret plot hatched by a feudal warlord to kill Emperor Toba, who reigned from 1107 to 1123, which I don't know when that was.
Yeah.
Legend has it that her true identity was an evil, nine-tailed fox whose spirit is embedded in the hunk of lava located in the area of Toshiki Prefecture near Tokyo, famous for its sulfurous hot springs.
Sounds like hell.
Yeah, I think it was she, the actual person, was a real person.
Okay.
But then it was just said that she was actually this mythical creature because a woman can't do things on her own. To be possessed by something.
You have to demonize a woman. Of course. Yeah.
Not to say that, I don't know if the demon if it's true, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Right.
And this is a case and a half. It's going to be a long one, so I apologize in advance. It's 7 pages long.
It's okay, I need to get Bas to bring me wine.
Yeah, you are gonna. So, obviously, I just want to give my usual disclaimer. The following stories contain graphic content and might not be suitable for everyone. The sources I use to find the information will be listed in the show notes, and everything I say is my own opinion unless it is stated as fact. And I also obviously mean no disrespect to anyone that I talk about. So today I'm going to talk about the murder of Jacques Pretorius. I want to start off with talking a bit about the victim in this case, Jacques Pretorius. I read a lot of articles, and unfortunately, like much of the other murder cases, not much is really said about the victim. You know, who they are, what they like, their dreams, their aspirations, things like that. It's just, they're kind of lost in the story. So I got the following information from a South African YouTuber and podcaster, Bella Monsoon. She has a really successful YouTube channel called Bella Monsoon, and I told Kristin I think she'd really like it. It's very similar to Bailey Sarian. So Bella covers a lot of murder cases in South Africa while doing her makeup. And I also want to mention she has a podcast. It's like a sister channel to her YouTube channel, and it's called Murder and Mayhem. She actually covered this case on the 5th of March this year. On the episode on YouTube, Bella starts off by thanking the Pretorius family for sharing old family photos of Jacques, as well as sharing who Jacques was.
That's nice.
So, Jacques was born on the 15th of January 1992. He would have been 30 years old this year. He was loved by his parents, who described him as the light of their life, and his younger brother as well. He enjoyed playing sports and was always seen with the ball in his hand, probably ready to play at any given minute. Cricket and rugby were the sports that he would end up playing at school as he got older. And he also had a ringed-necked dove called Birdie as a pet, who he really, really loved. He just seemed like such a kind person, you know what I mean? He was a well-liked young man who got on with everyone.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be like a gentle person to have birds and fish as pets.
Yeah,
those are such delicate animals. So,
and they also need a lot of care, I think, more care than people think.
Yes. So that also speaks to who he was kind of as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 2008, Jacques was in grade 10. He was 16 years old, and the world was supposed to be his oyster. On Monday morning, the 18th of August, at Nick Diederik's Technical High School in Krugersdorp, Jacques Pretorius was walking down the corridor with one of his friends, or his best friend, on his way to assembly, seemingly a typical Monday morning at school. But as Jacques was walking down the corridor, a menacing figure would hurry up behind him, calling out to a group of matric girls, "Hey, do you want to see something cool?" That's when Mornay Harmse drew back the katana he had brought to school and slashed Jacques' neck, severing his carotid artery. His best friend tried to block the wound to stop the blood, but your carotid artery supplies blood straight to your brain, and brain death occurs within minutes. Jacques Pretorius was gone.
Oh, that is so ridiculously sad.
But Mornay Harmse's rampage had just begun, and chaos ensued as pupils who originally thought this was some sort of sick joke ran for safety. Stefan Bauer, aged 17 at the time, was trying to flee like all the other pupils when Mornay used the flat surface of the sword to hit him in his leg. He shouted at his attacker, so Stefan shouted at Mornay, saying, "Why are you hitting me?" Stefan said he heard Mornay laugh, quote, with a strange sound in his voice, and in the next moment, wielding the blade that was almost 60 centimeters long, Mornay struck Stefan in the back of his head, cutting to the bone. In a quote from Stefan, "I held my head and I could feel myself bleeding. I knew I had to get away." Mornay was still advancing towards Stefan when two of the school's groundkeepers put their own lives at risk to save Stefan. Lesiba Samuel Manamela and Tsaimo Joseph Kodesang saw what was happening and ran towards Mornay to try and tackle him to the ground. In the process, Samuel was struck in his arm and had a deep gash. Joseph had a cut on his left cheek all the way to his ear, and the cut was so bad that his ear was nearly severed.
So it's like half a Glasgow smile, kind of.
Yeah,
sure.
I think so. I wasn't like super clear on the exact wounds that I could find, because also these people weren't mentioned that much in the articles either, you know, even though they technically were the unsung, they were the heroes, they were the unsung heroes.
But wow, like that's amazing to put yourself, you're such a good person that you're like, these kids are in danger. I'm going to put my life at risk. Wow.
Exactly. And one of the men, I think Samuel, I'm not sure, but one of them was 43 and the other one was like 26 or something like that. Yeah. But because of their brave efforts, Stefan would be able to go to the hospital to receive emergency care, and he would survive the attack. The two men were also okay after medical assistance.
That's good.
What caused Mornay to stop his rampage is unclear, but sources reported that he might have caught sight of his younger brother. After the rampage, after he maybe caught sight of his brother, he basically walked where the assembly would have been held, and he threw his sword onto the ground and went to sit on a nearby low brick wall. And that's when Mornay's younger brother slowly approached where the sword was, picked up the sword and ran with it to safety.
Oh, shit, my poor kid.
And he was 15 at this stage.
Oh. And I mean, he must have looked up to his brother so much.
Yeah.
At that age, you know?
Yes, exactly. During this entire attack, Mornay Haramse was wearing a mask called the maggot mask, inspired by the masks worn by Slipknot.
Why? I love Slipknot. Why do people have to do this to Slipknot? Sorry. I just get so frustrated. It's like, come on, man. Sorry, it just hurts me so much.
I know.
That satanic panic kind of thing.
It's like you've already read my research. This one was specifically modeled after the Volume 3 era of Slipknot, as they changed their masks with every volume or album and like tour and stuff like that. Okay, so a teacher approached Mornay, who was still sitting on the wall, asking him to accompany them to the principal's office. Mornay took off the mask, revealing his face painted black. He appeared confused and asked the teachers what had happened. So now, you know, I should probably give a little bit of a backstory on who Mornay Haramse was and how this all came to be. So I don't think we'll ever fully comprehend the mental state of Mornay Haramse. You'll see that it is a case of nature versus nurture, I guess, in a sense. Regardless, I don't think we'll ever be able to fully understand what space someone is in when they commit such crimes and what exactly leads to someone doing it, because I don't think it's only one particular thing that leads to them committing crimes like this. So Mornay was born in 1989, and as I mentioned, he had a brother who was 3 years his junior. He grew up in a Christian household, and as far as I could tell, religion was pretty important to the family. Corporal punishment was also standard in the household. And now I just want to clarify that lots of people, especially in South Africa, grew up in households where corporal punishment was the norm, and they grew up without doing horrible things.
But when you combine the corporal punishment with that very strict Christian upbringing, speaking from not the corporal punishment part, but the strict Christian upbringing, that does affect your mind.
I got got spanked as a child. Like,
I never got a hiding. I would cry if my mom just looked at me like I was in trouble.
I would imagine a child would be super scared of their parents if they were to be subjected to corporal punishment.
Oh, yes.
Which I was. Like, it is what it is. My parents believed in corporal punishment. I also think it's the times that they grew up in. And
yeah, it was normal back then.
Especially in South Africa. And still today, I do think, like, households do dish out corporal punishments, you know.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't agree with corporal punishment as an acceptable way of teaching children consequences for their actions. And it does have a proven effect on children when they grow up.
But that being said, a lot of people experience that and they didn't go be murderers.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean like the effect is that they'll go and be murderers. I'm going to read a whole section here because, like I said, my resources will be listed in the show notes. So, corporal punishment triggers harmful psychological and physiological responses. Children not only experience pain, sadness, fear, anger, shame, and guilt, but feeling threatened also leads to psychological stress and the activation of neural pathways that support dealing with danger. Children who have been physically punished tend to exhibit high hormonal reactivity to stress, overloaded biological systems, including the nervous, cardiovascular, and nutritional systems, and changes in the brain structure and function. A large body of research shows links between corporal punishment and a wide range of negative outcomes, both immediate and long-term. So this includes mental ill health, including behavioral and anxiety disorders, depression, hopelessness, low self-esteem, self-harm, and suicide attempts, alcohol and drug dependency, hostility, and emotional instability, which continue into adulthood. Impaired cognitive and socio-emotional development, specifically emotion regulation and conflict-solving skills, poor moral internalization and increased antisocial behavior, increased aggression in children, adult perpetration of violent, antisocial, and criminal behavior, indirect physical harm due to overloaded biological systems, including developing cancer, alcohol-related problems, migraines, cardiovascular disease, arthritis, and obesity that can continue into adulthood, increased acceptance and use of other forms of violence, and damaged family relationships, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was all according to the World Health Organization. And I will obviously link everything in.
Sorry, who?
Well, your dad jokes, just continue. So, to continue on with Mornay's history, he was quite a bit smaller than his peers, and apparently he was born small. He was always just a small child, and he had a baby face, and he was, like I said, quite slender, small, and this apparently led to a lot of bullying. Even though Mornay's parents complained to the school about this, nothing was ever really done. I also will say that I listened to Nicole Engelbrecht's episode on True Crime South Africa on this, and she mentioned that the psychiatrist that would later evaluate him went through his school records, because obviously that would give you quite a good idea of who this person is.
Yeah.
And it was basically like blank, you know, it like nothing more was tested beyond like the required testing. It doesn't show any involvement really from the teacher's side, or that they maybe reported that the parents complained or anything like that.
But I mean, in a time of corporal punishment, the bullying wasn't really as important or as addressed, I think, as it is now. So again, it's like a different time, unfortunately. Yeah.
And although later during court proceedings, no evidence of bullying was ever placed before the court, and Mornay's defense attorney was never instructed to use it as a defense.
Okay.
The psychologist felt like it was possible that he experienced some bullying in school and that it made an impact on him to some extent. I'm going to speak about the psychologist later on as well. But as Nicole Engelbrecht said when she covered this case on True Crime South Africa, Mornay could possibly have been bullied a bit, but he wasn't an outcast. He had a group of 6 friends, and his friends also said that they never saw any bullying. She also said, though, that every individual would experience things differently, but also some kids might see it as, teasing or whatever, and it might be something that really hits close to home for the person that feels they're being bullied or whatever.
Yeah. Or maybe as well, if he was not seeing things the way everyone else sees it, he's more, susceptible to viewing something as more personal, like an attack. So maybe he internalized stuff a whole lot more than other people did, which is like, they should have paid more attention psychologically, but again, not the time. Like when my mom, she said, like, when she was in school, things like psychologists weren't a thing,
No.
There's no such thing as mental health.
Yeah. So it is quite a while ago. So as you can imagine, he liked listening to heavy metal.
Me too.
Including bands. I know. Including bands like Slipknot, and I thought you might have liked Slipknot.
Corey Taylor is an amazing vocalist.
Mm-hmm. A fact that would later... I'm not very familiar.
Yeah.
I was not allowed to listen to them. So including bands like Slipknot, a fact that would later overshadow the Cates a bit. The satanic panic and stuff like that. And he liked playing video games and also seemed to have an interest in the occult.
Of course. 3 strikes.
So.
Let me guess, he wore black a lot too, right?
I'll get more into everything a little bit later on. So on Friday, the 15th of August, 2008, they had a civics day at the school. So if you can recall, this was the Friday before the event.
Are you not going to explain civics for international listeners?
Oh, casual day. Like, for those who don't know, South African schools wear uniforms. I don't know of any school that doesn't wear uniforms. And sometimes the school lets you wear normal clothes, as in your personal attire. I don't know. But we usually had to pay. Like 10 rand or whatever it was. So Mornay came to school dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, but carried the maggot mask in his bag with him. So he already brought it with him that Friday. So during this time, it was nearing their final exams, and they would graduate to go to work and school or study or whatever they decided to do. So naturally, talk turns to what your plans are for the future, and the teachers and the matric pupils were having this discussion, and Mornay's responses were alarming, at the very least. The principal would later say that his answers had frightened the teachers and that they were planning to talk to him about it on Monday. I don't know why it had to wait until Monday, but it's not the teacher's fault what happened. I'm just saying. During the discussion, Mornay alluded to the fact that he wasn't prepared for his upcoming exams. So I would say this is probably September exams, which are prelims, which, are quite important.
Well, I don't know, because I went to a school where we didn't do exams.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know.
It was wild. Like, when I hear about your school, like, it's the wildest thing. It's
I never did a matric exam. Ever.
The stress I felt during matric exams is a stress that I don't think I've ever recovered from. Okay. So he also said that he didn't think his parents had much faith in him. And then he said something that is just chilling in the context of what would happen on Monday. And it really should have set alarms off in the teachers' minds. And in my opinion, like something, I don't know. Monday was too late. I don't know. He said that it would probably be better if he was in jail, because it's better to be a bum in jail than a bum on the street. So he really had no plan for his future, which is...
But you wouldn't expect that person would, go and kill people as well. Like a kid with no future, you know what I mean?
But the thing is, the fact that he was young and like on the precipice of a new beginning, going out into the world and not being confined to school and whatever, and he doesn't have any plans or any anything to look forward to or that he wants to do or anything like that, shows that he, I don't know, at the very least shows that he might plan to do something to himself.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that depression is like very key there. Yes. Yeah.
So Mornay started having unusual conversations with his group of friends. It's unclear when these conversations started, but they were definitely having what Mornay thought were the solidifying conversations around this on that Friday. So they were thinking of ways that they could make an impression on the school to get pupils to notice them. This was, after all, their final year, gearing up to the final exams, like I said. And allegedly, Mornay Harmse was the one that would come up with this heinous plan that would make sure they left their mark on the school. Allegedly, Mornay asked the group of boys how they would organize a Columbine-inspired massacre. So the Columbine High School massacre was a school shooting and attempted bombing that occurred on the 20th of April 1999 at Columbine High School in Columbine, Colorado. The perpetrators were 12th grade students Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, and they murdered 12 students and one teacher before taking their own lives. According to Mornay, the conversation grew serious and a plan was being formed. They planned who would use what weapon and who would be responsible for what. Some boys said that they would bring firearms to school, while another said that he would build a bomb. Mornay volunteered to bring 3 masks along with 3 swords that he had on Monday. So Mornay actually collected swords of various sizes, which his father had also bought him over the years.
Yeah.
And Mornay had also had a keen interest in ninjas and the culture surrounding them.
Yeah.
So, although no specifics are known surrounding the plan that was made, we know it was scheduled to happen after the weekend on Monday, the 18th of August. So, phone records revealed that the group kept in contact over the weekend via text messages. Mornay had messaged the boy who said he would make a bomb a few times, asking him how it was going, and the boy basically said everything was going to plan and that he would be able to bring it with him on Monday. Over the weekend, Mornay's parents, upon his request, bought him a clown mask from a fancy dress shop, similar to the aesthetic of the maggot mask, not like a happy clown mask.
Yeah.
So Monday morning rolls around and Mornay was off to school early that morning. His mother noted that it was strange because she usually took the 2 boys to school together, but she didn't think too much of it either, you know. I mean, who would? Your child is going to school early, maybe they needed to go do some work or whatever, doesn't matter. Mornay was carrying a large red bag with him containing what we now know were the masks, 3 of them, the maggot mask, the clown mask he got that weekend, and a mask that looked like a gas mask. The 3 swords, a small knife, a sword belt, knee and elbow guards, gloves, and black paint.
2 questions. Because I was like, how the hell is he smuggling swords past his katanas along? So how's he, smuggling that past? Wouldn't you?
Centimeters.
Yeah, wouldn't you say, like, you don't do sport? Why the hell do you have this bag or whatever? And also, were they in like sheaths? Because the metal all clanging together is gonna, that's a lot of metal.
Valid question. I don't know. I have other questions coming up that I'll talk about. That is a very valid question. The boys would meet up in one of the toilet stalls in the school, although the first boy to see Mornay that morning asked him why he had all that stuff with him. The boys then tested, or maybe in their minds played with the various items in the bag. One boy tried on the mask and armed himself with one of the swords. And then this is where I had the thought, how did 6 boys fit in one toilet stall doing all, like, playing with all of these things? If there are all 6, if there were 6, but I don't know, they didn't give any numbers, but they said the group of boys, and the group of boys that I know to be his friends were 6 boys.
Yeah.
So
that is a lot.
So if they weren't doing it in a single stall, were they like spread out between 2 separate stalls, or if they weren't in a stall, were they just in the bathroom? How the hell did they get caught while they were just in the bathroom?
And also, like, you think these boys would not think he was serious. They were just like playing along in this like fantasy kind of thing, you know. Well, to them, not to him. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, during this time, the bomb maker handed his creation to Mornay, instructing him not to pull the string because that would detonate the bomb.
Okay.
So guess what Mornay did?
He pulled the string.
He pulled the string. I love how you knew already. So panicking, another boy grabbed it from him and threw it out the door. And then, nothing.
Yeah.
It was a dud, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, it's a child.
Yeah.
I don't even think he knew, he probably didn't even know how to fucking make a bomb.
Yeah.
Also,
Hopefully.
here I had another thought. How weird would seeing this scenario be?
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of like 6 matric boys freaking out in a bathroom stall together, or maybe just in the bathroom, and then one of them chucking out something out of the bathroom, either the stall or the bathroom door. Like, maybe because it was early in the morning, there weren't many people at school, but...
Yeah, that is weird, yeah.
Yeah. So, Mornay really thought that this was going to go down. And then the bell rang, and it shattered his reality.
Yeah.
The other boys were taking the gear off and started making their way to the assembly, leaving Mornay and his plan behind. Because to them, it was just that, a fantasy. It was a joke. It was, they weren't serious about it.
Yeah.
And I think Mornay was so convinced that they were going to do it, and he planned it out so far in his head, and you'll see why I say that, that I think he felt it was too deep to turn back.
Okay.
I don't know, and I don't think any of us will ever really know what made Mornay decide to put on the elbow and knee pads, cover his face in black paint, and slip on the gloves and mask to carry out the plan on his own. But we know what happened. And then, so back to Mornay, who's now in the principal's office.
Okay.
He claimed that Satan had told him to do it, and that he must kill someone because obviously otherwise he would be killed.
I wish that you could hear my eyes rolling.
Interestingly, when talking to Mornay afterwards, they asked him if he realized what he had done, He knew that he'd killed someone.
Yeah.
He said, I killed 3, didn't I?
Okay.
So Mornay was arrested when police arrived on scene. He was also tested for drugs, and it came out negative. This is relevant because of the sheer brutality of the attacks that he carried out. And as I mentioned, he's quite small in stature. It was weird, it was peculiar that he had all that aggression and all that strength in him. They said he was weirdly strong.
Yeah, which plays into that whole demonic possession kind of thing, yeah.
He also came across as dazed, as I said, and they said he had a crazy look in his eye. Remember, I also said that Stefan said when he laughed, he had that weird sound in his voice as well.
Yeah.
So, the boy that tried on the mask and the sword, armed himself with the sword, was later also arrested, but charges were dropped as he had only done so in an attempt to reason with Mornay, and he would later turn state witness. So I don't understand how they mean in an attempt to reason with Mornay. Maybe it's just in an attempt to kind of play out the fantasy without really doing it, kind of humoring him in a way, I think. Yeah, so obviously, police would search his room, and what they found, when I was researching this, I told Patrick, this sounds like Kristin's voice.
I know, I'm already like, in preparation. Here we go. Lay it on me.
Okay. They found a book on Wicca, tarot cards, small statues of dragons. That's what really sent me.
Right?
Because you have so many statues of dragons.
I
it's
do.
not even funny.
Oh my word.
A hand-drawn Afrikaans Ouija board.
I mean, I have a resin Ouija board in English. How do you have an Afrikaans Ouija board? Ja of nee?
Yeah, exactly. No, it was. And it was hand-drawn on a piece of cardboard.
Okay.
Yeah. There's also candles and lighters And then there were posters on like Eastern cultures or religions and stuff like that as well. So yeah, things like that. And obviously, the occult items which were found started a panic.
Of course.
The satanic panic.
Mm-hmm.
And rumors soon spread that Mornay was a Satanist and had killed Jacques as a part of the sacrifice. But what they also found was a diagram of the school's floor plans and also a list of who will be doing, like in the plan that they were compiling.
Now you see, out of everything in the room, those two things are the most suspicious. Yeah.
Exactly, that's what shows intent. You might have had an interest in the occult and an interest in all of these things, and that's okay. You can have an interest in it. You can have tarot cards. I have tarot cards. You have tarot cards.
Yeah.
It's okay to have an interest in it. I won't have a Ouija board, but that's just me. There's nothing wrong with having it. It doesn't implicitly make you a murderer if you have it, or a bad person if you have it.
Yeah.
You know? So I have spoken before about the fact that South Africa had an occult unit. Remember, I think it was in the church one.
I love how we've got 15 episodes and we can't remember what the hell is in which episode.
I can't remember what I ate last night. Charles Jacobs, episode 8. A cheerleading cop and a courtroom demon. So the founder of the unit, Kobus Jonker, I think I also spoke about him. So he even took the stand to testify that Mornay seemed to be interested in Satanism, but he wasn't a Satanist because he had candles of other colors and not just red and black in his room. Black candles help call on darkness, while red candles call on the energy of blood.
False.
Exactly. Mornay also didn't have red and black bedding and curtains.
Well, must his underwear be red and black too? Like, what the hell?
You can only wear black. If you're Satanist, you can only wear, you're not allowed any of, you can't see the other colors. You just see black and red. So yeah, to get back to a serious point, there were also no blood smears on his walls, which would indicate like satanic goings on. And then he also didn't speak in any demonic language during the attack. So yeah, this was the type of rhetoric that was like, this was in court.
Oh,
this was in court. So you kind of derail.
Yeah.
Why not spend the time that you were thinking of this, why not spend that on rather reporting on the actual victim and who they were and, the consequences of the actions and the family and I don't know, surely there's better things to do or go and solve an actual other crime that happened, you know?
Yeah, it's insulting to the victims.
It is, because it overshadowed the crux of the matter, which was Mornay Amsa was probably a person who really, really, really needed mental health help and assistance, and he didn't get it. And I'm not justifying what he did because what he did was egregious and it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a Satanist because he killed someone. He didn't kill someone because he was a Satanist. He killed someone, we don't know for what reason, but he was mentally ill and probably still is to a certain extent mentally ill. I can't speak. I'll talk about that fucking later. Because you're not going to be happy at the end of this.
Of course not. I wasn't happy to begin with.
No. So obviously Slipknot and their music was also blamed for this, and Corey Taylor, the frontman of Slipknot, said, quote, "Obviously, I'm disturbed by the fact that people were hurt and someone died. As far as my responsibility for that goes, it stops there because I know our message is actually very positive. I'm not encouraging anybody to kill anybody. I encourage fans to express themselves, to stick together, and to help each other." So Mornay was sent to Stadfontein Psychiatric Hospital for a 30-day evaluation on the recommendation of the prison's psychiatrist, M.M. Molefi Letseho. A psychosocial report presented in court revealed that Harmse is a lonely and empty young man whose mental age is far younger than his chronological age.
Okay. And also, sorry, Psychosocial is literally one of their songs.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's a really good song.
So nice to have a Slipknot expert on with us.
I do my best.
Let's see. So, Harimse is a lonely and empty young man whose mental age is far younger than his chronological one. He was described as a person who lives in a fantasy world and did not fit in at school. So I saw an article where a forensic graphologist, Yoshi Fusoker, basically analyzed Mornay's handwriting. I'm just going to read a little bit about it. He said, he's been a witness to abuse in some form. He doesn't believe that men can be good people, and even when he's good and does well, he thinks he's failing. He doesn't know how to be good. This person has an analytical mind. He can grasp things and respond to situations very quickly. This person could be or could have been a very good IT developer. Okay, that has nothing to do with anything, but it also said here, this person is isolated, lonely, angry, and neglected. This is a young philosopher who has turned to spirituality for guidance. So yeah, it's obviously handwriting, forensics and stuff like that isn't recognized in the court. You can't present it as evidence or anything like that. But I just found it kind of interesting that a lot of what he said was echoed by the psychiatrist, and whether or not this was analyzed before or after the trial, I'm not 100% certain, but it looks like a pretty old piece of newspaper, because it's literally a piece of newspaper that has been scanned into the web. Yeah. So the psychiatric hospital eventually extended Mornay's stay for another 30 days. Franco Visser, the head supervisor of the Sterkfontein's forensic department, he was also responsible for Mornay's evaluation, said he presented psychotic features but lacked many of the indicators that someone who was truly suffering from a mental illness with psychosis, like people that have who have schizophrenia. So he lacked a lot of other indicators, basically. So that's why they basically extended the stay another 30 days.
So that they could do more testing kind of thing.
Yes. Yes, because he wasn't 100% sure that he could make an accurate diagnosis. Also, it should be said that at this time, Mornay was only 18, and that's quite young still. A lot of things can still develop and happen in the brain. So during the extension period, Mornay's mother went to see Franco Visser, and that's when a lot came to light as well. She was concerned that her son could have what she called a criminal mind, and she said that she had been worried about his behavior for a while, stating that he had a history of petty theft and was also aggressive. That's when the realization hit Franco Visser that Mornay was faking this psychosis. He was putting up a front. And Mornay admitted to doing it, to faking, after Visser confronted him. So Mornay told Visser that he was bullied, and kind of that's why he did what he did. But like I mentioned, it can't necessarily just be that, first of all. And also, I kind of want to go back to the corporal punishment, which one could also argue is bullying to some degree. I mean, it's literally where you're supposed to feel safe in your house with your parents. And, you know, if there is that looming fear of being hit or whatever, it evokes a lot of stress. And like we've already mentioned all the things that can happen from that. Mornay told Visser that his father had beaten him up on more than one occasion. So although everything, like, is my opinion that corporal punishment in and of itself is wrong and we shouldn't do it, Visser made it very clear that what was happening here was more than just corporal punishment. It crossed the line completely, because like I said, corporal punishment, especially back in those days, was still part of life. So he made it really clear that this wasn't just corporal punishment, it was more than that. And this is also a statement that was confirmed by Mornay's mother. She further went on to say that she herself struggled with her mental health and had attempted suicide before, and she'd also been hospitalized for mental breakdown. So it turns out that Mornay's parents had quite a turbulent relationship, resulting in a situation where they might have been focusing a lot on their issues in a couple, and also personal issues perhaps, that, you know, some time and attention that they could have been spending on their children kind of, you know, went into another direction. For me, what also stood out here is the fact that his mom struggled with her mental health and that she had attempted suicide, and before it indicates, you know, a lot of mental health issues are genetic. So, you know, things could have been passed on to Mornay, and he could have already been predispositioned for certain behaviors and certain thought patterns and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know when she was hospitalized for the mental breakdown or when she attempted suicide. But yeah, it was pretty evident that it was a tumultuous household to be in. And also, like, aggression was pretty prevalent in the household. Mornay also admitted to wanting to carry out the murders as a way to make a name for himself. But psychologist Franco Visser, he also stated that Mornay was one of the most manipulative and calculating individuals that he had ever come across. Social worker Annette Vergeer told the court that Harmse should spend time in a juvenile prison where he will get the counseling he needs to rehabilitate. She also went on to testify that Mornay had used drugs before, but he hadn't used the weekend before the murder, hence why he tested negative. So I just heard that it was dacha, I'm not sure, or marijuana. While awaiting sentencing, an article came out on News 24 that was titled, "Samurai Killer Well Liked, Says Jail Buddy." Lawrence Nseneni was awaiting trial with Harmse, and he said prison warders have a soft spot for Harmse, and that he was, quote, a friendly guy with a good heart. And the prison warders really like him. We shared books and went to talk to the pastor. Mornay is a God-fearing man, and he gave his heart to the Lord a long time ago.
Like a long time ago. So what did those occult books have to say?
Didn't Satan tell him to kill someone just yesterday? You know what I mean? So that also just goes to show how manipulative and calculated he is, because he can kind of switch on and off who he is, or he can portray who he wants to be in that moment in time to get what he wants. Because he also manipulated everyone into perhaps staying another 30 days because they thought he had psychosis or whatever, you know. Maybe he was pretending all along in the hopes that they would send him to a mental health facility or to go and live out his sentence there, you know. So,
good point.
In September 2009, Mornay was sentenced to 20 years in prison. 18 years for the murder of Jacques Pretorius, 8 years for the attack on Stefan Bauer, 6 of the years to run concurrently with the murder sentence, and 5 years for each of the other 2 attacks to run concurrently with the murder sentence. The sentence was decided upon due to the fact that he had a juvenile psychological disposition, and therefore did not meet the minimum requirements for a life sentence. But in the social worker's report, she highly recommended that he should go to a juvenile prison, because she said him going to a normal prison with adults would further lead him down a bad path, because he would be influenced by them. Both Mornay's parents expressed relief that he did not get a life sentence. I also want to add that they were very supportive during the whole trial, and like when the judge was reading out the sentencing and got to the part where he said that Mornay was basically abused, or the aggression that he felt or experienced in his family or household, his father started to sob. And like I said, they were like at the trial every day, at every trial, and they were really supportive and hugged him, and they really looked like a very, very, very close family, or at least painted a picture.
It's like if only you loved him that much from the start.
Well, it's kind of like a little too late, and I'm not blaming the parents, because he's 18 years old. He had the capability of making your own decisions. I understand that he has a lot of trauma, but once again, I'm going to say there's a lot of kids with a lot of trauma don't do this.
But didn't they say he's got a lower, like, sort of mental age?
Not IQ, but yes, mental age, yeah. True. No, very true. But yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah.
You can't point the finger at anyone in particular. Except Mornay, because like I understand in some senses he is a victim, but he victimized someone in a way that is unforgivable.
And then you also think, now that I said that, like, if he's got such a lower, mental age, but like then how's he so manipulative?
And how did he plan all of this out?
Yeah,
this
exactly.
takes a lot of planning. Where do you get the floor plans for the school? That's not something that you can just ask for, surely.
Yeah.
Things like that really like
so seeds of doubt in everything.
So his parents were relieved that he didn't get a life sentence, and they hoped that he would find psychological help in prison. Understandably, Jacques' mother was not satisfied with the sentence, and she wrote letters to Jacques long after he died, and she really struggled to cope with his murder, which is so understandable.
Yeah.
My heart honestly goes out to him. In 2019, Mornay had an early parole hearing where he still showed no remorse for what he had done. After being given a chance to address Jacques' family, he said that he had nothing to say to them. Although apparently he had written them an apology previously. I don't know, like, once again, he can switch on and off who he wants to who he wants to portray. So I don't know how sincere that written apology was necessarily. But on Monday, the 14th of March 2022, Mornay Harmse was released on parole after serving a minimum sentence.
Oh, of course he was.
Although questions have been raised about his mental state and the decision to grant him early release, Correctional Services has defended the decision, saying they are confident Harmse is not a danger to society. The spokesperson for the Correctional Services said Harmse was subjected to strict parole conditions and will be monitored. Clinical psychologist Professor Gerard Labuschagne said Harmse's parole was too early. Quote, he had more risk factors developing after his incarceration than before. Like I mentioned, what the social worker said would happen, probably happened. Labuschagne said Harmse had not participated in any rehabilitation programs and hadn't even completed high school. Let that sink in. Remember what he said about being a bum in prison and not a bum in... So now he's going to be not necessarily he's going to be a bum on the street. I'm sure his parents are going to help him and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, now he doesn't even have school. Now he doesn't even have... And it's frustrating because you can complete that for free in prison. You have time.
Yeah. And also, like, when he's no longer a danger, like, how many times have we heard that before and people reoffend?
Exactly.
Like, how many times? And then, we should have never let him out. How many times has that happened?
It's too fucking late now, But like, we know our prisons aren't built for rehabilitation because they're overcrowded, they don't center rehabilitation. I'm all for rehabilitation, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
but
of course.
If he doesn't go to rehabilitation classes, if there's no real rehabilitation programs being enforced in prison, then there's no rehabilitation in prison.
All he's had now
Then how is he getting better?
Yeah. All he's had now is time to learn from other prisoners and think out a plan.
So he hadn't even completed high school. He said Harmse only attempted to work for about 2 months in his whole incarceration.
Jeez.
So basically, he did nothing since 2009. People must understand that this was a planned and attempted mass murder, unquote. That's what Professor Gerard Labuschagne said. He's a clinical psychologist. I would fucking have listened to him.
Yeah.
Also, there were recommendations from psychologists and stuff like that to not release him.
Yeah.
And then the prison board said there's many things that they take into consideration and look at. And then when I heard that, I'm like, what else? What else do you look at?
Yeah.
Just how much time he was given. Surely you must listen to the social worker and the psychiatrist or psychologist or, What the fuck? Honestly, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Head of the Department of Criminology at the University of Limpopo, Professor Jaco Barkhuizen, questioned if Harmse had received enough psychological counseling in prison. Quote, I see he did a victim offender participation program which counted in his favor, but a parole hearing should include the voices of the victims.
Yes.
Yeah, so Jacques, I just want to get back to Jacques. I just want to really finish on this note.
Yes.
Jacques was laid to rest a week after his murder. There was a temporary memorial on a wall dedicated to Jacques at the school, where the pupils could write messages to him and place flowers on the wall/fence. I'm not 100% sure of the situation, but at the funeral there was a paragraph in the program that read, quote, Jacques, in the 16 years, 7 months and 3 days that you as a son, brother, cousin and friend had been part of our lives, we experienced joy and grief. Jacques, you were taken from us so suddenly. It hurts very much, but we know that God is holding you safely in his arms.
That's so sad.
Stefan Bauer recovered from his injuries. Like I said, he's married now and has kids, and not much else is known of two groundskeepers. Once again, like, even though they were really the unsung heroes, they really did go unsung.
Yeah.
There's no better word to describe them than the unsung heroes, because you can't even really find anything on them.
What are their names again?
Lesiba Samuel Manamela and Tsisaimo Joseph Kodisang. So my heart really goes out to the victims, and I feel especially in this time, it's very difficult because I think we've spoken about the mental health aspect, we've spoken about nature versus nurture, and it seems to be a case where he kind of got the short end of the stick on both sides. He already had some potential mental health issues, although undiagnosed because he was still quite young. But then also, if he lived in a house, if he was punished, even if, in my opinion, even if it is just corporal punishment, it does have an effect on you. And if it was more than just that, even more so. But still, that doesn't justify what he did.
Yeah, not at all. Especially with what he said before he did it. It's like, hey, you want to see something cool or whatever. Like, that just shows how heartless it was.
Yeah. And I just want to add that apparently he had a lot of privacy, which also is weird. He could just lock his door when he wanted to lock his door and stuff like that, which is also weird if you take into consideration that it was said that his dad was very domineering and he almost to a certain degree like bombarded everyone in the household, including the mom. So that's kind of weird to me, that he kind of just had also they said that they hadn't seen his room in like 2 months. That's weird to me.
That is strange.
How?
With a domineering dad like that, he'd be checking on it every day, like, is your bed made? Yeah, so that's very strange.
That was just something that was strange,
If it's a Christian household and, like, the dad sees all that stuff he's into, he wouldn't allow that if he was domineering.
So I'm wondering if he hid it. It didn't seem like he hid it that well. I don't know. It's very strange. It's odd. I don't know. Nothing ever can ever justify what he did, and I do think, just based on what the professionals have said, I don't think it was a good idea.
No.
He's been released.
It's worrisome.
That's a lot of planning. That's a lot of aggression. Yeah. And also, I forgot to mention this, that while he was being evaluated by Frank Professor, the psychiatrist, he also mentioned how when his dad was the way he was, he almost fantasized about bashing his head in. And he never did, because his dad is bigger and stronger than him.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that fact that he's such a small person. Because you forget that. When you listen to what he did, you expect him to be like a big dude.
Small. You must go and Google him. He's very small. You'll see on his in his sentencing, he's very small. He looks like a child. He doesn't look like an 18-year-old.
And I mean, that obviously plays in as well, especially if your friends are all like tougher and bigger than you or whatever, like growing at quote a normal rates, like that must also make you feel very inferior. So I suppose that also, when he felt he was in control of that group of boys and he's leading this plan, he must have felt like a sense of power. And then they all drop him. Maybe that's like
almost
what made him mad.
Lies. But
All right.
Okay. I'm gonna go to break. Morning. Sorry.
Yeah, me too.
waitress.
Two things
I heard you say, "Oh, Chanelle's waiting."
Oh yeah, because I saw you. I was like, oops. Two things that irritate me. It's one, when restaurants close and you can't order on Mr. Delivery, even though it's 8 o'clock. And the urination that never ends. When you drink like a glass of wine, and it's just like for 3 years.
What did you...
No, I really want
to order
the chili cheese burger from Burger King, because those are so nice.
Oh, they closed already.
Yeah, it's 8 o'clock and you can't get it on Mr. Delivery. Like, what the hell? Why is Burger King closed?
What the hell? That's weird. Yeah, usually they're open until late, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's a Friday night. Yeah, it's
also
so
that extra long chili cheese is my favorite thing at Burger King.
Me too, that's what I wanted.
But I never feel full after Burger King though.
Really? So, I'm like, let me open my notes, and it's my teacher notes. Thankfully, I'll only have to do this on the weekends from now on, hopefully.
Yay.
So, yeah, because I'm going to be working with Chanelle. Well, the different departments, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
You know what the best part of my new job is? Well, I mean, I haven't started it. It's how Belinda, the title is. Operations Executive. It sounds so
I started
fancy.
Listening to my dad. I started listening to my dad wrote a porno again. But I'm only on episode 2.
Well, now that I'm going to be working, I'll probably start listening to it again too.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to be covering another haunted doll. So this is Peggy the Doll. So
it sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm. It was on, and that's why we drank. Yeah, Em covered it, yeah. So a woman bought a vintage doll from a car boot sale. This doll was made This doll was made in England in the late 60s. This doll is 3 foot tall, or just under 1 meter tall. So just like Robert the doll, quite a big boy.
That's too tall.
Yeah. And she has short blonde hair. This doll didn't have a name at this point. After acquiring this doll, the woman was having trouble sleeping and was experiencing strange things in her home. She lived alone, but she had been hearing footsteps, and she also heard the bathroom lights switching on and off. She would wake up at 3 a.m. She had nausea and migraines. So she got so scared that she wrapped the doll in the carpet, put it in an outdoor shed in her yard, and called for help. She's like, I'm not dealing with this.
I don't think that's going to do much, my love.
In 2014, Jane Harris, a British paranormal investigator, came to help this woman. Jane presents a show called Help, My House is Haunted. So she and a psychic named Hazel went to see if they could help. When they got to the house, the woman opened...
A psychic named Hazel? Like Violet?
Oh my goodness! Another my dad wrote a porno reference. It's a sign to listen to it. Oh my word. So yeah, they went to this woman's house and she opened the door and said, it's round there and I'm not letting it in the house. So apparently this woman had a lot of nightmares and they kept happening no matter where she put the doll in the house. So I assume, like you implied, even if it's in the shed, you're still going to get those nightmares.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She would wake up...
still in possession of it. So.
Yeah, in possession. She would wake up feeling hot and shaken. She also tried to get help from a local priest, but that didn't help.
Thanks, priests.
And that's how we drink. This is just like the episode of Shoutouts. So Jane did some investigating and interviewed this woman, and she took the doll home with her. After around 4 days of the doll being in Jane's home, she started feeling sick. And this is a quote. It was a bit of a mystery illness. I just felt completely drained and completely fatigued. It got to the point after about 2 weeks where I actually couldn't get out of bed. It felt like if you imagine your body as a battery just zapped completely, I just had nothing left. So Hazel, the psychic, spoke to Jane and said it probably has something to do with the doll. So Hazel took the doll with her. So the psychic took the doll with her, and after 3 days, Jane was completely better. So, and also that means it was like 7 days, which is also quite a odd number, you know?
Yeah. 7.
So then Jane, she posted a photo of the doll on Facebook. There was no caption, no anything, just a picture of this doll. And this was around 8 p.m. at night. So by the next morning, she had received over 80 emails and messages saying that people had weird things happen since looking at this picture of the doll. Quote, some people were having really terrible headaches, chest pains. Others were complaining that their dogs were barking and spinning in circles. They were hearing footsteps. Light bulbs were burning out. There was just something really weird going on. So some reported flashing visions of, quote, mental institutions and treatment bordering on abuse and overwhelming feelings of anxiety, end quote. So this doll is supposedly able to affect people's dreams, visiting a lady in her dream to warn her about one of her cats. The next morning, this cat was very, very ill and died that day, which is a very strange thing. And sad. A different psychic medium got in touch with Hazel and told her that there was a woman named Peggy attached to the doll, and she was, quote, restless, frustrated, and persecuted in life. So apparently, I think there were around 4 psychics that tried to contact whatever was attached to this doll, and they all seemed to use those terms, that she was restless, frustrated, persecuted. I think one source said that there were some ties to the Holocaust with this woman, that she might have been a victim in that. So I love that I typed this out. It was at this time that the Lord and Master of Drama, Mr. Jacques Pretorius, found out about her. So
what a dramatic person.
I found this episode and I was watching it and I'm like, oh, dude, just, I love you but I hate you. Like, why you gotta be so dramatic? Like, you make a spectacle out of this when you're at the same time trying to take this seriously, but you're also selling the entertainment value. So it's like, you can't straddle both worlds because you just end up making it cheap, you know?
Yes.
Anyway, so she was brought onto Deadly Possessions. That was season 1, episode 3. Peggy was on a chair with a bag on her head, and Zach asked, why does she have a sack on her head? And Jane says that she hasn't been around many people, and when she has, strange things have happened. And then, of course, Zach got really uncomfortable. But as they were talking, Zach was apparently being plagued by flies. So there were apparently flies. He was like swatting flies away from him. And of course, flies have to do with Beelzebub, the lord of the flies. So that's where that's, demonic kind of link comes through. So there was a lady who, earlier I mentioned people who were negatively affected by seeing the doll. Apparently a lady had a heart attack. So this lady flew to Las Vegas to see Zach, and she was on with at the same time that Jane was on the show. And she said that she had the heart attack within minutes of seeing the picture online. And then she started getting really emotional, and she's like, she just can't see like pictures or videos of Peggy, or she feels like she's going mad. Like, she seems really affected by this. So I don't know. Like, she also said she's got children, and I don't know if she's a single mom, but she seemed like almost like she has PTSD from the heart attack. And now she's like linking it to this doll, because you can't say that because she saw the doll she had a heart attack. So it's just like
something else that was underlying before. Surely.
Yeah. So anyway, so Zach and Jane, the psychic, they were about to take the sack off of Peggy's head to show her to the camera, and Aaron calls him and says that something important is happening at Nerve Center. So Zach runs off, and Billy is sitting watching the screens, and he says that the recording equipment froze. Basically, only the interview camera malfunctioned and showed a black screen, and all the other video feeds were fine, because apparently in this museum they have cameras running in every room at all times. And when they have interviews, Billy is watching the interview room to just keep an eye on everything, and that camera just went black when they were talking about taking the sack off of Peggy's head. And Zach gives his disclaimer. And then he tells them to zoom in on the doll. And so they dramatically zoom in. And he's like, can you see her? You can see, you can imagine. And he's like, he leans forward and he says, everyone at home, what are you feeling right now? Dramatic pause. Are you feeling anything at all through your television screen? Any anxiety? And then, quotes, at this moment, I can feel something that wasn't here before. I don't want to be anywhere near Peggy. And then Zach gets all angry, as per usual, and he says to poor Aaron, I feel like I'm going to rage. And, he goes on his usual, I need to get out of here. Oh, weird. And then Zach got a psychic. It's over 9,000! Oh my word. So then later on...
Bagan is actually just,
Goku?
what's his name in disguise? Goku in disguise.
That's why his tips are not frosted. It's actually just like that.
It's just up.
Dragon Ball Ghosts. Yeah, great.
Bagan's Ball Z.
Oh gosh. That sounds like a terrible porno. Filmed in his dungeon while he's busy recording his music.
Oh no.
Also, I love Zach Bagans. Like, he's such a pain, but he's so great at the same time.
I don't know. I don't have an opinion on him. I just know he is ridiculous.
Oh, he's great. Oh, anyway. So, Zach later got a psychic, Patty Negri, who has helped the Ghost Adventures team before. So they had this lady who had the heart attack. Her name is Katrine. She was like, I don't know, it sounded like laughing, but then she was also kind of crying during this. Oh, they had a seance. So during the seance with this medium, they kind of just like, she had this weird reaction. So then, of course, Zach has everyone in the seance get up and leave Katrine alone with Peggy the Doll at the seance table.
Oh, why would you do that, Zach?
Because she needs to face her fears, apparently. So the medium says that Katrine is getting really choked up, like feeling constricted, and the medium says Katrine needs to face her fears. Quote, her fear feeds it. So basically the episode just goes...
that makes sense.
Yeah. The episode just goes on with her feeling, like Katrine feeling uncomfortable, them coming back in, and like Zach saying, you know, she needs to face her fears, and which is true, like especially if she's got like some kind of PTSD with regards to the heart attack. Maybe she just needed to see, it's a doll, I'm alone with it, it's fine. Like exposure therapy almost, you know. Just, I wish it was with actual psychologists or psychiatrists instead of them. But yeah. So that was basically Peggy the Doll from what I could see from, you know, that information I found.
Yeah.
She's a very, I'm going to say she's a very good-looking, cute, lovely little girl, just like Robert the Doll is the most handsome boy ever made.
I don't want to look at her.
Yeah, well...
I'm glad you're posting this week.
If I die, you know it's because of this episode. Because I don't know why.
I'll help you. I just hope I'm not next.
I love how much you care about me.
I do. I do. But like, at some point I can't really do much, but...
Yeah, so that was my brief story of Peggy the Doll.
Oh, well, thank goodness yours was brief, because can you imagine if yours was also over like an hour?
Word,
How long was mine? Like an hour?
I think, yeah. Yeah, I just keep thinking of chili cheese, man. I think I'm gonna just get McDonald's, just...
Yeah, don't they have the fries? Those chili cheese?
I don't like the fries, though. I want the burger.
I don't like that fake cheese.
I love that. We're ending the podcast with food again. Every
it's not
time.
even planned. That's the worst of it. It's not even planned.
It's amazing.
I can't help it. I'm a Taurus. I can't help it.
I think we should just change this to like random education and food. Like that's our podcast.
It can be a branch of the podcast.
A very weak
branch.
branch.
Time one day.
Yes.
A big branch.
Yeah. The kind you swing from and fall to the ground on your butt.
Have you seen that picture? Have you seen that picture where they show Tarzan, like the animation, carrying Jane and like swinging on the rope simultaneously, but then they show it from the back and he's like clenching the rope between his cheeks.
Oh yes, because he's holding her with both arms, both hands, and he's like, well, how are you holding the rope?
You don't have to squat if you know how to clench.
Can I make that the title of the episode? That's going on a t-shirt.
Put that on a t-shirt. But people are going to think this is a dirty podcast. It sounds horrible. Oh.
Yeah, that can really be taken out of context.
Yeah. Clench when you're swinging around.
Oh my word. I don't even know how to respond to that.
Sometimes things are just better left unsaid.
I thought you were going to say unclenched.
Unclench when safely on the ground.
Oh my. Oh. Okay, well, 167 minutes later.
Yeah, please find us on Instagram and Facebook at Law and Omen.
We have a website, lawandomen.com.
We have email, info@lawandomen.com. We're on all major podcasts, what suppliers, what do you call them, platforms. And if we're not on one, let us know.
We're also on Podchaser, so if you have an account there, please rate our episodes, leave comments, tell us what you like and don't like, leave us ratings and reviews anywhere you can, like Apple or wherever. I don't know. iTunes, there we go. Apple.
It's just like, I don't know. It's just like, I just gotta flash forward to what you're gonna be like when you're a grumpy old lady.
I'm already a grumpy old lady. Thanks for listening to us.
Yeah, God bless you.
Let us end on 169 minutes. Voice.
Anyway, okay, love you, bye.
Love you, bye.